David has just been arrested in the murder of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas, whose dismembered and decomposed body was found last September in the trunk of a Tesla registered to David. The medical examiner still has not determined a cause and manner of death. Burke is currently being held without bail. For more now, we turn to our Jacqueline Lee in Los Angeles. Jacqueline, why did it take so long to take Burke into custody?
Lindsay, it was months of investigators compiling evidence. Now, sources say the arrest was based off of that evidence and probable cause. Investigators telling ABC News they can prove this was murder. And this was the biggest hurdle for the medical examiner, because when Rivas Hernandez's body was found in the back of that Tesla, it was decayed and it was dismembered. So it was, having to examine a body in that state proved very difficult for the medical examiner. But again, sources say the LAPD was able to compile evidence, enough evidence to prove what they say is beyond a reasonable doubt that this was murder. Lindsay.
And what's next at this point for Burke and this case?
So the evidence was presented to a grand jury, we're told, and we're also told the evidence will be presented to a DA for filing on Monday. As for Burke, he is behind bars.
Let's get into it. I feel like there's a lot to discuss.
Yeah.
Since this happened, we covered this case in February. I believe it was our second video of this channel, detailing everything that happened with D4VD, David, and Celeste Rivas.
Rivas Hernandez.
It was just announced that David was taken into custody.
Mm-hmm.
And that he is in there until his trial will begin and end.
Hell yeah.
Which, yes, hallelujah, praise the Lord, whatever higher being you believe in. Yes, we're getting the justice we all want. We're getting the justice we all deserve. However, there's still some questions that needed to be answered, and I feel like we are getting them. Yeah. And I'm going to get into it here in a bit as to the questions that I needed to be answered. But what are your overall thoughts of David getting arrested? When you open Instagram or wherever you got your news from, what was your overall reaction to the inevitable David arrest?
I mean, we said it in the video. We knew it was going to happen. There's just absolutely no way. The whole internet was like, we could have this case completely done and over with now. Like, this is insane that he's, hasn't been arrested. But big ol' but. I do believe in the justice system, and I do like the way that they went about it. The LAPD, I really think that the prosecution did the safe thing. They got the grand jury. They made sure that they had enough evidence, because the victim, unfortunately, is deceased. And it is very hard, very hard. I mean, you can look at Casey Anthony case, okay?
Yeah.
And we all know she did it.
Yes.
It is very hard to prosecute somebody when the victim is deceased. It's really hard. And you have to make sure that everything is, ready to go. T's are whatever that saying is, T's are whatever, I's are dotted. And I think they went about it the right way. So I was actually kind of happy. And honestly, it helped with the internet sleuthing too, because I think it actually helped in their case. I don't think they're ever going to say, like, hey, like, this helped a lot. But a lot of the uncover that the internet sleuths did, I'd like to say that maybe we're one of them, is that we uncovered a lot of Discord stuff that I don't think that they would have been able to capture if it wasn't for the internet.
Yeah, I agree 100%. My overall reaction was yes, finally, but I think I had the same sentiment that everybody did, and that was, what the hell took so long?
Right.
Yes, I understand they had to go through the grand jury, but I'll be honest with you, Ali, that was the first time I ever heard of anybody doing that for a case.
Yeah.
No matter the case. Like, they didn't do that when OJ murdered Nicole.
No.
They didn't do that for any other serial killer or any other person that committed a small crime. Although David is a celebrity, quote unquote, he's not the biggest celebrity out there. So I thought it was strange how he, out of all people, was getting quasi-preferential treatment when the evidence was all laid out on the table. Yeah. You literally could pick and choose what you could go after him for, and yet they were waiting. I didn't get that. Yes, I know we covered it. We did an update in about mid-March on what the hell was happening. I still did not quite understand. Maybe because I needed it to be cut and dry and for David to get arrested back in September of 2025. But at the end of the day, I was just like, what the hell took so long? Yeah. What the hell took so long?
I mean, for all of you babies out there, you included AJ. The only one that I could really kind of point to, which is not even like as serious of a crime as this one is Bill Clinton. So they did it with Bill Clinton. They
Yeah, but he didn't kill nobody
He
though.
didn't kill anybody, but there is a point in the case with the prosecution. I'm telling you, they did the same.
Yeah, I
They're a
get what you're
little
saying.
safer now, I think, the LAPD because of what happened with OJ. They spent so much taxpayer. I think it was like $9 million that they spent in taxpayer funds
Mm-hmm.
to prosecute OJ, and then he
Mm-hmm.
got off.
Mm-hmm.
So we could probably argue OJ needed that grand jury to make sure that they had all of the evidence, which even if they did all, I think that he would have been prosecuted either way because we all know that OJ did it.
Yeah, but at the same time, the murder happened 4 days after, 4 days before the Bronco chase.
Yeah.
Granted, he scheduled to turn himself in. I think there were rumors of David going to turn himself in, but I think that was all just, websites
Yeah, there
trying to
was a
get
lot of
clickbait.
hearsay in this
Yeah, a lot of
case.
clickbait,
Yeah.
a lot of AI type, what happened,
Yeah.
a lot of fabrication of stories were out there. So
Yeah.
I try to get in a lot of mine from the source, but I'm just happy they got him.
Happy they
Um,
got him. Now he is charged right now with first degree murder, which is awesome.
yes,
Well,
yes.
yeah.
And the state of California, and in the state of California, that could also possibly lead to him hitting the death penalty.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Man, that is such a touchy subject. Listen, I have a hard time with the death penalty. And it's hard to say this because it's really hard to get somebody to admit to their crimes. I do believe that the death penalty should be on the table for somebody who comes out and who is prosecuted but also admits to the crimes. There are people, sadly, who have been on death row who have not committed the crimes that they're accused of committing. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a fine line. That's the way that I would go about it if I was, any type of judge or anything like that, even any type of like congressperson, making the laws that the person on death row would have to commit to their crimes before they're put to death. That would be my way to kind of weed out, everything.
Yeah. I mean, I'll get your overall thoughts as later as to if you think he will get it, but
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%, but at the same time, you know, this could be an example as to what you do to a kid because albeit Celeste Rivas Hernandez was a teenager,
Child.
that's still a kid,
He was a child. Hmm.
that's still a kid. So I think it would be a good benchmark, or David could be the poster boy for, all right, you mess with the kid, dismember a kid, here's what you get.
I
You
mean,
get
if you
sent.
want my thoughts on that, I think that any type of, person who hurts a child should be actually hung in the town
Yeah,
square. But that's just me. Thank
yeah,
God I'm not writing the laws because
yeah.
that's what would happen. Or maybe, no, you know what? Not thank God. Maybe sh more people should be in Congress or in the Senate, like writing these laws
No, for sure.
and protecting our kids. So,
For sure. Now, you wanted to talk about something that you said we should say for the video
yes.
about Celeste Rivas Hernandez's parents coming out and saying they were not paid by David.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Because I think they were, but of course they're just going to deny it at this point.
Yeah, I think that so if I mean that's probably another like legality little thing that could happen is if they were knowingly, for lack of a better word, handing their daughter over for financial gain. I think that would be charged with that. I think that could be at some type of thing under the law. There are ways to get receipts for that type of stuff. So no,
Sure.
I 99.9% do not believe that they were getting paid for their keeping their mouth shut. I always thought it was a weird type of rumor too, because, and as they should have been, the parents were getting a lot of flack for what happened. Because honestly, some people are right. I think they had a lot of knowing what was going on. I don't think they had, again, for lack of a better word, control over the situation. I don't think they had control over.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. You said she was like a free bird in the sense of always coming and always going.
Yeah.
And I think me being a parent and an overprotective parent at that,
Yeah.
that's where I thought that was one of the hairiest situations of this case. And I was like, well, why wouldn't they know where she is? Why is
Yeah.
she just coming and going? Why is there barely a Nest footage camera door from a door of her on her birthday in October of 2024 when there was that dark period of nobody knowing where she was, what she was doing from
Yeah.
July 2024 till she was found in the trunk or the frunk of
Hmm.
David's car. So
Now,
That
I did hear somebody talking about the like serial runaway position that her parents were in with her. There is a lot of, I wouldn't even say speculation. I think this is what actually happens. If you have a child who's constantly and consistently running away, which she did, I think it was 3 times that they had to,
they
like,
reported her
they
missing.
reported her. I think it was 3. We'll have to go back to our other video. I think it was 3 though. I would say that when it comes to like calling the police on your own child, I think that they start taking it less seriously each time that child runs away.
That could probably go with anything though. Like if you're saying, I think my neighbor's out here collecting bodies.
Yeah.
Police come, they find nothing. Okay, for sure he has a body in his house this time. Come find nothing. Well, I call the police 2 times. They said they can't find anything, but I know for sure that they have a body in their house this time. Should I
Yeah.
call them? Should I not? So I feel like that goes with anything,
I mean, that's
really.
what happened with Jeffrey Dahmer, you
Yeah,
know?
there you go.
So
There
it's,
you go.
I get it. And again, we're not in the parents' position. I do wish the parents would be a little bit more transparent. So if I had to put myself in the parents' shoes, and I am a parent myself, I
Mm-hmm.
would be out there like, okay, this is what happened. We want to dispel any rumors. We want to let you know, hey, like, okay, we're not bad parents. We tried our best. We tried to do our best. This is what happened before, we went through that dark period. I would be
Mm-hmm.
talking to everybody,
Mm-hmm.
unless the parents lawyered up too, which would be kind of a red flag for me too. But
I don't think they did. I
no,
mean, not to judge, but they don't look like they have the money for a lawyer, if I'm being
no, but they're
honest.
probably getting a ton of news outlets reaching out saying, hey, we'll pay you
For
for an
sure.
interview.
For sure. But also, I feel like if, granted, it's a sensitive time, it's a touchy subject, but I feel like they want to stay away from the media as far as possible because they have people questioning them.
Yeah.
Even now that Dave is behind bars, they're like, what is the parents' involvement in this?
And that's, I guess, my next question too. Like everybody's talking about like him, like pay, like he was he some like I know he was popular with music, but was he like this like multi-millionaire? Like I don't understand how much he was worth. I'm gonna Google it really fast. Hold on.
Yeah, Google it fast. I'm gonna show some photos that I have in our files. Um,
Okay, so let's go ahead and
here,
put this into perspective.
please.
David is estimated, and this is not liquidation. Like this is not like just millions of dollars on hand. Two
Okay.
million to $3 million. But you're talking about a
Is
two
that his net
million.
worth?
That's his net worth, and that's not liquidated. So that can be in like cars, houses, properties, anything like that. I'm sorry, but living in California, that's not fuck you money.
No, that's not. That's barely surviving money. In California, the state that takes almost all your money,
Well,
that
yeah.
that you're right, that is not fuck you money. That is barely getting by money in California.
So again, if it was, let's say it was fuck you money, and he had that type of money, instead of when she came and said, because this is, and we'll talk about this, people are speculating that she said that she was going to basically ruin his career, ruin his life for being with her.
Yes.
I think that this happened because he didn't have money to just pay people off. So that's also like that's where my like, little radar goes off where I don't think he had just money to pay people to hide this relationship. I don't think this relationship was that important to him
No.
to pay people off. I just don't.
But also, it's like, okay, I seen on many comment sections of Instagram posts about him getting arrested and whatever new story was developing and whatever new story was coming out and whatever new piece of evidence was coming out. I shouldn't say nobody, a lot of people had no idea who this man was.
I had no idea who he
They
was.
had no idea where his music came from, what he's saying. You can't even name a song where you're like, yeah, I fuck with that. Like,
Yeah.
you don't hear it being played at the bar. Obviously not now, but I'm saying before then. You don't hear it played at the bar. You don't hear it played at the club. You don't hear it played on radio. He's not even like, I don't think he has a song in like the top 100, I think. Like,
No, I mean most of his money, it does say here that most of his income was from his rise in fame with TikTok. So I'm pretty
but
sure
is
that he
TikTok
was
dropping bands like that for somebody, especially for music?
I mean, it says that that's where most of his wealth came from. Now he did sign, before he went on tour, he did sign I think it was like a multi-million-dollar deal with like a band, or not a band, like a producer or like a label, something like
Yeah.
that. So he did have money that was starting to come in. So it
I mean,
wasn't like he didn't have it yet.
sure. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm pretty sure if he didn't do this, he'd probably be on his way to being a star,
Oh, yeah.
more of a well known guy, but he's going to be infamous now
Yeah.
and in the category of the worst human beings to ever walk the face of this planet,
Yeah.
100%. So it's just wild that somebody who doesn't have the celebrity status of a OJ, of a Aaron Hernandez, of a
Yeah.
Chappelle Roan, is involved in a case that has taken the country, or better yet, the nation by storm. You know,
And then I also think he was just like this like little egomaniac. Like we'll talk about how, I mean, Celeste was a child. Okay, she was going into her teenage years, but she was a child. She was 14 years old when she passed. And he was still young though. I mean, you're talking about like a teenager going into his 20s, like now with a little bit of fame, like he was probably just like this egomaniac, nobody to, rein him in, like, and it just all got to his head and he thinks he's untouchable. I mean,
I don't know.
we talk about it with college football stars all the time. I mean,
College football stars.
they're making the most money that they've ever made in the history of, the NCAA.
Yeah.
And you have these kids coming out, I call them kids, they're adults. They're coming out of college already like multimillionaires.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Tyson is the perfect example of that. As I go to
Yeah.
my music, Mike Tyson is the perfect example of that. You know, a guy that is handed fame, fortune, women, drugs at a young age.
Yeah.
Granted, he didn't kill nobody, but he lost it all at one point.
Yeah.
You know, he admitted he was broke. He filed for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So you give a kid the world, he's not going to handle it the way that you would think, you
I mean, I
know?
don't know what kind of person I would be in, those years where you're supposed to be kind of learning who you are as an adult. And I don't even know how I would be then if I had all of this like fame or, TikTok fame and money. And I don't know who I would be. So,
But also, to piggyback on that, Shannon Sharp said a quote that'll stick in my mind probably forever. Money doesn't change you, it makes you more of what you already are.
true.
And with David getting this money, $3 million is $3 million. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
I know we made it sound like it was chump change. I think in the state of California, it is considered chump change, being that a fucking condo there rent is probably like $5,000. You know,
Yeah.
I mean that in the fact of like, yes, you have all the money in the world, but what can you do in order to keep your sanity? David
Yeah.
was showing his ass with all this, with the casket at one of his shows, with the death in the songs that he has. He was showing us who he was this entire
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
This entire time. So I did the liberty of finding this, as I'm going to put you away while I read this.
Please.
So I found this extremely interesting. This is kind of a timeline, as I found from a page. It says the day before Celeste was allegedly unalived on April 23rd, 2025, she and David argued via text. Celeste threatened to expose their relationship, as you were talking about, Ali, after becoming jealous of the singer's relationships with other women. So not the age difference, but with other women. David called her an Uber to meet at his home, where he is then accused of stabbing her to death. David allegedly continued to send texts to Celeste's phone to give him an alibi in her murder. He allegedly sent a text while driving in his Tesla to Santa Barbara County to dispose of her belongings. Celeste's U.S. passport was later found by a Caltrans worker off SR 154 in Santa Barbara, California on January 17, 2026. And when was her body found again?
I think it was the day after her 15th birthday. I think it was September 8th.
So it says they found her passport barely this year. So they found another piece of evidence barely this year.
Let's see. I want to get my dates correct. Yeah, she was discovered on September 8th. So the Tesla was impounded on September 5th, and then the impound worker found her body on September 8th.
That's interesting to me that they barely found her passport.
And what was the date? January 17th?
Of this year.
So, okay, so remember on our first video, again, go watch that first video of a full breakdown of the story.
Yes, I'll put the link of that in the video to this.
Because we deep dived the crap out of that, like
Yes, we
Discord
did.
chats and everything. During that time, we were talking about, I think you brought it up, about that trip to Santa Barbara.
Yeah, I did. I remember now.
And I remember us talking about that because it was just like this little, like weird little like piece of information that not a lot of people were talking about. But then,
yeah, because I felt that was key as to what he was doing at that time, where he was going.
yeah,
Obviously, she was found in the trunk, but he probably went there to ultimately dismember her. Now, speaking of dismembering, it is reported that David allegedly amputated Celeste Rivas Hernandez's left ring and pinky fingers because her ring finger contained a tattoo of his name. Her fingers were never recovered. Ugh. The
Okay, so
singer,
can we stop right there for a sec? Because that's
yes,
what
yes, yes.
confuses me. Because when we talked about this last time, they were able to identify something about her because of a tattoo.
Yeah, that is strange.
So we're kind of getting like weird, conflicting pieces of
Yeah, what is,
information.
yeah, that doesn't make sense. Okay. New red flag popping up.
Yeah,
So does she have fingers or does she not?
yeah,
Because when I watched because they said that her body was already kind of hard to identify because it was not only dismembered, but decomposed. But they said her hands were intact.
yeah. Because I remember us talking about that because there were also because I think we did two videos on David if I remember
Yeah, we
rightly.
did the full breakdown of it and then we did an update on it. And the
Yeah.
update was more of the grand jury situation.
Right. Okay. So that's my question is why there's other ways to get rid of a tattoo than cutting off a finger. And I'm sorry, like, don't mean to speak ill of her because I'm not, and I don't want to say it like this, but
No,
if it,
no.
I have a tattoo on my finger. If somebody's trying to get rid of a tattoo on their finger, you could burn it off. You could cut the skin off, like, so
Yeah.
it's just weird to me because we did get that piece of information that says she was identified because of a tattoo
Yeah,
on her.
that and even Pat CC was like they found the tattoo on her finger. They found her hands, but they didn't find the tattoo on her finger. So yeah, that's fishy.
And that's what's
That's
irritating
weird.
me so much about this case. My one biggest thing about this whole prosecution and what they're laying out is none of this information is matching up. Like
No.
there's not just like bullet points of okay, this would happen. It's all over the place. And there's so much speculation out there that nobody knows what's kind of real, especially when it comes to identifying the body. Because we
Yes.
got TMZ reported that she was beheaded, which
Which was
wasn't
not true.
accurate at all. And just like that's what's irritating me is like we don't have like exactly what happened. Like I don't
Well,
know.
let's get into that. She was stabbed. We don't know where, but it says she was stabbed, and I'll get into where she was stabbed here in a second. But one thing I'll say this before I keep reading what I have on the screen is, if I'm the defense, I'm using this because at first you're like, okay, well, she had her fingers at first. Now all of a sudden there isn't any fingers. Oh, by the way,
Hmm.
they were never recovered.
Hmm.
What do you do? Just throw them in the ocean then?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, anywhere. He could have disposed of that anywhere.
So yeah, I mean, again, I ain't defending David at all. Look at our past two videos. I've not defended this man one time, nor
Yeah.
will I ever.
We're not
But
fans.
no, but if I am the defense, I could see them using that. So
Yeah.
here's where it gets even more interesting. The singer allegedly used a fake name, Victoria Mendez, to order two chainsaws, a body bag, heavy duty laundry bags, and a blue inflatable pool from Amazon, in addition to a shovel from Home Depot via Postmates.
Oh my God. I swear to God, this younger generation. So this would be compared to like how like when we cover like older cases, like this can be compared to somebody actually going to like these stores and purchasing these items and we catch them on CCTV. But we don't, the younger generation, they don't go anywhere. Like they are like they're
No,
ordering everything straight to their door.
super tech
But
savvy.
it's still the same thing though. You're still gonna get caught. Like that doesn't make you
But Davis seems like the guy to always have people around him. Like, no matter what it is, he could be like, I want alone time. But his definition of alone time is him and four other people hanging out. You know what I
right.
mean? So he ordered under Victoria Mendez. He probably had two other girls there that night. He said, hey, can one of you answer the door for me? Take the packages. Or
Hmm.
if it was Amazon, they just leave it at the door. They don't need a signature. Yeah, so it's easy to hide that up. Obviously, like these other cases where they're seen buying the chainsaw at the store. Yeah, no, that's a little more cut and dry. So, according to court documents, prosecutors claim David stabbed 14-year-old Celeste Rivas multiple times at his home in 2025. They say he later bought items like a shovel, chainsaws, and body bag. As I just read, her body was later found in a car in the Hollywood Hills. Prosecutors say they knew each other for years and had an inappropriate relationship. Yeah, chainsaw, stabbing her to death in his garage to silence her. I heard a report that it was because of their age difference, and she was going to come out and say yes, they were in a relationship because David was committing pedophilia.
Yeah.
But as we just saw earlier, it was because of her jealousy, quote unquote, of David having multiple girlfriends. Out of those two scenarios, which one do you think is more real?
Well, I'll speak on behalf of, I used to be a 14-year-old girl. I would say both. I would say if I was ever, which thank God I was never in that position, dating an older man when I was a child, I could see where she was probably very infatuated with him and he was probably a love bomber and was making her feel, very special. And then his fame started hitting.
Mm-hmm.
And then she got scared, you know, and maybe they had conversations. Again, this is just speculation. Maybe they had conversations of like, my God, I can't wait until you're old enough so we can be, official and we don't have to hide our relationship anymore or something like that. Like, and then, but until then, I'm going to be free to see whomever I want. They might have had those conversations too. She threatened him.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but then here's another thing. You just brought it up on the screen, that ring. We saw that ring posted in a lot of his Discord messages, Instagram posts.
Mm-hmm.
Did he give her a promise ring? Was that ring ever recovered?
Yeah, many people are wondered like what that ring entails. I don't think it entails them being married or an engagement.
Yeah.
I think it entails a promise ring, even though when you're a teenager, that is the closest thing they'll get to an engagement.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's interesting. I agree with you 100%. If you're just listening to this, what I pulled up was part of the autopsy done on Celeste Rivas Hernandez. And I apologize if I'm moving kind of fast. But the ME also says that her left ring and pinky fingers were amputated. So the tattoo that had David's name was officially cut off. Shows that her pointer finger with the word "sh" on it was intact.
That was the tattoo. So it wasn't the David tattoo. It was the
Yes.
tattoo.
Yes.
Okay.
The body was badly decomposed. Her head was partially skeletonized. And I apologize for those that are squeamish, with an absent left eye.
Good
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. So, I mean, he didn't just murder her, he brutally murdered her.
And that's where I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for this comment. People want this to be some over like dramatized version of one of his songs, okay? And as a person who listens to a lot of rock music and metal music, and I'm all about like, the
Mm-hmm.
shock factor of everything, a lot of people who sing and about like murder and blood and stuff like that, they're not out here killing children, okay?
Mm-hmm.
There was something different about this. And I think it's really just about just who he was as a person. I think that we could probably find and maybe do a deep dive of his childhood and come up with a
Maybe.
bunch of stuff that they're probably going to come up with the prosecution, or not the prosecution, the defense. But I don't think it's as sexy as everybody wants it to be. I really don't think it was him writing all these songs in hopes that he could murder the love of his life, who was a child.
Mm,
I think this is what happens when you put yourself and you're a disgusting human, piece of pile of garbage, pedophile.
for sure.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to that. Like, yes, he was in his younger years, but I think that this is just who he was. I don't think his music had anything to do with that. I don't think he
Mm-hmm.
was writing a ballad to kill somebody. That's just my take on it. So,
Perhaps. I think that I kind of have the same take on it, but my take might be a little more dark
mhm.
in the sense that, yes, it is as cut and dry as it is. Are there still some holes, loose ends? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think those will be put together? Yes. Because at the end, it is that cut and dry. But I feel like, and I agree with you on the aspect of he didn't have the type of hush money that a Suge Knight would have. He
Mhm.
didn't have the type of hush money that a P. Diddy would have, or that any of these big music moguls would have. So he had to resort to unaliving her in a very brutal fashion. But what I will say, what mainly drove him to doing this, and I apologize if I'm going off in La La Land, but this is just what my gut feeling is, in that this man sold his soul to the devil, in
Mhm.
the sense that I want fame, I want fortune, I want record deals, I want this, I want that. He seems like the type of man that would paint a pentagram, sit in it with other people around him, stand in the middle, and levitate off the ground, giving his soul to the devil.
Yeah.
I get those vibes from this man. And if you
Yeah.
don't either, then dig deeper because you're missing out. I feel he did that. Devil gave him that, but not to the status of these other rappers that we know and love, not to the status of these other musicians that we know and love. But he gave it to him to the point where the devil just said, all right, I'm here to collect. What do you got for me?
Yeah.
And he probably did some sort of ritual and some sort of room in his house to where they said, we want you to kill her.
Yeah.
And he said, say less. And the fighting and everything else was like the perfect scapegoat for him to do it.
Yeah. I mean, you're not actually off with that. Like people will probably say like that's crazy, blah. But we're seeing it with children right now, especially children. That you're seeing this. I mean, if you want to even jump back into Epstein, there's so much darkness included in, hurting kids. And that the only
Yes. Yes.
conclusion that you could come
Yes.
to is
I already know where you're going with this.
you are
Yes.
possessed. There's absolutely no way somebody in their right mind could ever hurt a child like this. So you're not like off with that. You're not. I don't disagree with you, but I do kind of like halt it a little bit. I don't want to give him any leeway.
Well,
You know what I
I'm not
mean?
using that as a defense.
Yeah.
I'm just using that as a possible motive. You
Yeah.
know, yes, you could say the music he made also was a motive, and the anime shows he watched, and that this was maybe something did happen in his childhood that made him this way.
Yeah.
But I just feel like him, you know, doing the satanic rituals, like basically, I just feel he sold his soul to the devil, and that made him do that. But that doesn't mean I'm giving him a pass in that sense. I just feel
Right.
that was a motive on top of the anime he watched, the music he listened to, the weirdness that was already in his mind.
Yeah.
That was just extra.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I mean, if you're asking me to like kind of lay out what happened, I truly believe that again, I speculation, I truly believe that there was talks of her getting excited to be an adult and to be able to be official. And I think she really felt this like knowing deep down that this was not right. Like the position that she was in was not right.
mm-hmm.
And going to David for comfort, who's over here kind of, going up and up with his music, a little bit of stardom, and he's getting it to his head and saying, like, hey, no, I have a ton of other people, a ton of other women that probably want me. Like, I don't need to mess around with this anymore. I do think that was one of the biggest things.
I do
And
too.
he was charged. It wasn't just the first degree murder. He was charged with unaliving somebody with, I can't remember the wording, but it was like a financial gain or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand that.
Monetary gain.
I
So
didn't understand that.
basically she was going to wreck his stardom. She was going to come out, show the world who he really is, which is a pedophile.
Yeah.
And he did not take that lightly,
So he unalived her and what? He got an extra million in his pocket, basically, or was that just to
No,
save
so they're
face?
saying that so basically they're throwing everything that they can at him.
Well, yeah, and they should. But
Yeah.
also, it's like I thought we knew about this
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah.
I had the picture up of them on his Twitch talking about it, and they abruptly ended the Twitch because Celeste
Yeah.
basically exposed him, and
Yeah, she
rightfully
already did
so.
expose him. Yeah.
So I was like, how was that a secret? And how was Celeste kind of threatening that, knowing that was out there already?
I
You
mean,
know what I mean?
she was a child. Children are, especially teenagers, are going to come out and say some wild things like, Mom and Dad, if you don't let me go to see a movie tonight, I'm going to kill myself. It was probably along the lines of, I'm the only one for you. And if I'm not the only one for you, then I'm going to expose you to the world about our relationship. And she was probably saying some heinous shit, which teenagers do. She was a
Yeah.
child. She's allowed to. As the adult, and I'll even say this in the aspect of all these like women, female teachers that's coming out too, of
Yeah.
saying he was just a lot older or he acted a lot older than he was. You are the adult in the situation. You have the responsibilities on your shoulders to shut it down. So
Yeah.
Celeste can say whatever she wants to. You shouldn't be in that position. You shouldn't be with a child who's 14 years old. That's your responsibility. She had no responsibility. She did not deserve to die. Doesn't matter what she said.
No, she didn't. Not at all. And props to her for exposing him, and props to her for wanting to expose him.
Yeah.
it worked, but it cost her life, sadly.
Yeah.
You know, it worked because he is a disgusting human being. He is a scum of the earth. He does deserve to get dicked down by Satan.
Yeah.
All the bad, I don't wish bad on people, but at the same time, I guess you could say I do, because all the bad things in the world deserve to happen to David. David Burke, David Anthony Burke, whatever the hell this piece of shit's name is. All the bad things in the world deserve to happen to this motherfucker. And that's the bottom line.
I would say you hurt a child, you deserve every bad thing that could possibly happen in your life.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Now, I'm going to ask a question I wanted to ask earlier. Do you think he will get the death penalty?
No, I think that he has a really good defense team. I think that they're probably gonna, I don't even know if this is going to go to trial.
Really? What makes you
I
think that? Explain.
I think that the defense is probably coming to him, begging with him to take a plea agreement. And I think that if he does take a plea agreement, I think that death penalty is off. I think it's life in prison.
By like
Um,
a reason of insanity?
they could probably pull that card out too.
They'll
But
probably be like, look at his lyrics from his music, you
yeah, but
know?
he's so egotistical that he'll probably come out and be like, I don't want the world to think I'm crazy. I don't think he'll take it. I
True.
do think that there is a chance, honest to God, and this is a hot take. I think there's a chance if this does go to trial that he could possibly get off like Casey Anthony did.
Really?
And the reason I say that is because of the way that the prosecution is releasing and has released the information since September of 2025. It is
Mm.
so scattered. They seem really scattered. They need to tighten the fuck up because if they don't, there is a small chance that he could possibly even have like a hung jury to where nobody can come to agreement.
But do you think that still makes the case as cut and dry as you think it was earlier?
I think if it goes to trial, it's not going to be cut and dry.
You think it'll still be as scattered around as it
I
now?
think it might be scattered because I think the defense is going to come in and throw some extra things like you saw in the OJ Simpson trial. The OJ got off. People don't realize OJ got off because he changed lawyers and they made it about race. That was a complete like wrench in everything that the prosecution.
He also got off because not a lot of evidence was collected at the scene of the crime.
And then also, but they also turned it on like they planted the evidence. They and the cops with, the talking about racist stuff, like
Yes,
there
saying
was.
the N word. Yeah.
So I think that, yes, I think that if you have a really good defense team, which I don't know how he's going to pay the millions of dollars like OJ did.
No.
OJ paid $6 million for his
Oh,
defense.
he had it.
Yeah.
He had it.
This
David
kid,
don't.
and it's not liquid. So you're talking
And
about
these lawyers
selling,
ain't working pro bono.
no, you're talking about selling all of your properties, anything that you have to liquidate, probably taking out so much money in loans. I don't think that I think there's a possibility it doesn't go to trial. I think he takes a plea deal. I think that's probably something that could happen.
Which could lead to life in prison, as you were saying, or
That's the only reason I don't think he'll get the death penalty. I think 50-50. I think that because he's so egotistical, I think he'll be like, no, let's go to trial. Let's go ahead. They're going to find that I'm not guilty because he's saying he's not guilty. He pleaded not
Of
guilty.
course.
Why would he? And then
Yeah.
the other 50% is if it doesn't go to trial, his lawyers and his team will talk to him and be like, hey, you're either going to get the death penalty or you can take the plea deal. I think that's what's
Gotcha.
going to happen. One of the two.
My turn.
Yes, please.
I share a lot of the same sentiments that you do, but a little differently. In the sense of, do I think he'll get the death penalty? No. Do I think he'll get a couple life sentences? Yes. I feel like if they want to do, yes, I know they got to go through trial and whatnot, but I feel like if that was like, I feel like they did that. I won't say for clickbait, but just knowing the other cases that have happened in the past, not just in California, but in the country, no man who's done something to a child has been put to death that I know of. Maybe there is. If there is, y'all let me know in the comment section. They've all just been put to prison. So that's why I think that won't change. They'll keep the status quo in that regard. The only way I feel he could get off is what I brought up earlier and what I brought up back in March about the jury and what took him so long to get arrested. OJ got arrested the day, I don't know why we're tying this case to OJ, but OJ got arrested the day he came back, the day Nicole was murdered. So he was in custody since day one.
Yeah, but OJ was a flight risk though too. They found suicide notes. They found all this stuff,
But my point is they let him go. They couldn't have done that with David and then come back and arrest him. They had to wait for a
Yeah.
grand jury to gather up all this evidence.
Yeah.
They should have just done that from the start. And if they found him either uncooperative or totally, released based off a lack of evidence, then okay. But the fact that and I know you explained it perfectly, the fact that they took so long to arrest him just gives me this gut feeling that he can get off, because of what took them so long to arrest him and how they arrested him in what looked like in front of his home. I don't know I think it was the same home that we dove into in the first video where people were walking by and they found the Tesla parked there for X amount of days.
No, it was
looked like it.
can't. I don't think it was the same home because he moved all of his stuff out. I think
Gotcha.
I think it was Texas, if I'm not.
It wasn't LA?
Hold on. I'm going to Google this because his parents, okay, so I don't know if you remember this too. Another thing that happened, he moved all of his assets, I think, over into his mom's name.
Yes, that did happen.
So hold on.
Which I feel only a guilty man does.
You got to protect your assets, I guess. Let's see.
True, because you got all these soccer players moving their assets over to their mom's name.
So it says singer David was arrested April 16th at a residence in the Hollywood Hills. Okay, so you're right.
Yeah.
So this was near the Chateau Marmont Hotel in Los Angeles.
So nowhere by his house, it sounds like. Maybe
Airbnb rental property. It doesn't say specifically.
I feel like if it was, they would have said outside his house. I felt like they would have said that,
But even that house was a rental house.
It was.
I'm telling you, this kid, guys, don't believe everything you see online. This kid was flashy as fuck. Like
he was.
And everybody, I'm sorry, all these TikTok stars, all of these influencers, they're so flashy. They don't own anything. They rent, they lease. Like this is not just money like old money. That they don't treat this as old money. This is like wash through money where you just spend and spend.
Austin and Catherine were renting out their house for the longest time.
Yeah.
But they swore to everybody that it was theirs, that they lived in it, and every single person ate it up.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. None of that shit is real. None of it is as real as you and I are, Allie. That's the God honest truth. That's the God honest truth. We are the realest.
Somebody help me what to do with this thing. I need help. No, and that's also what I want to say, here in closing. I don't want this to turn into like this, like, again, this glitzy, case where it's like all of this like stupid TikTok filter bullshit nonsense.
It might be though, Allie. It might very well
I hate it so much.
be.
And so all of the stuff where it's just like, can we go ahead and just cut down to what this case is actually about? A child lost her life, and it doesn't matter what decisions she was making. She shouldn't have been in this position. She should have had better people around her to guide her and to rear her and to help her. And, it's fine. She was making bad decisions, as all teenagers do. That's what this case is about. I don't care who the fuck he is. I don't care what hit song he had. I don't care how many people loved him. He is not glitz and glam. And you can tell in these photos, his arrest photos, the fact that he's renting, he doesn't own anything. It literally comes down to he's a pedophile who killed a child.
Here.
Want to leave it at that.
Here. And I think what I'll say in closing to piggyback on, Celeste's teenage years is David probably most likely told her he loves her, He loves her, always loved her. And as a teenager, you definitely don't know what love is. Hell, I've heard 40-year-olds say they don't know what love is. So you think Celeste did? So it's sad that she stuck around in a situation that she probably thought was okay. But at the end of the day, I'm going to commend her for sticking up for herself and sticking up for other kids that are going through something similar to this. Because maybe hearing about this story will help other kids going through this to have the courage to walk away or to get help or to go to the proper authorities, all that. So
agreed.
Thoughts and prayers still go out to the Celeste Rivas Hernandez family. May she rest in peace, rise in power, rest in power, all that. Justice will be coming to you very soon, girl.
Yep.
Promise you that, believe that, and just keep looking down on us.
I'm telling you, you're talking about all of that like pentagram stuff. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about how she is an angel now, and she's making sure that there is justice out there.
She's with the better man up there.
Yeah.
She's with the man that does not lose. Yeah. That is 1,000,000% sure.
And maybe she actually knows what true love is now. And I'm
for sure.
Rest in
And
peace, girl.
I'm gonna start crying. So we're gonna get off. I'll just say, hopefully she, maybe she had some lost family already. Maybe she reunited with them up there. But
Yeah.
we're with the family, and yeah, fuck David.
Yep. Hell yeah.